Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the program L'École chez vous. Once again, I would like to appreciate all those who are watching us by this time, every Tuesday by this time, to learn English. Before we start the main issue, allow me to quickly greet some people. First of all, my greetings goes to all my students who are watching me by this time, mainly my dear student Cecile, because every day she's there watching or following this program. Thank you for you. My thanks also go to everybody for, first of all, for your outstanding contribution to education in Togo, mainly to my colleagues, teachers, for all what they have been doing for the success of this program. Today's topic is about how to use the question tag. We all know that when we are speaking, every time we are speaking, we make use of what we call question tag. And even in our examination question, we are asked to use the suitable question tag. But what is a question tag? Is what we are going to try to clarify this evening. So thank you once again for watching us, and please be tuned. Okay, question tag. What do we mean by question tag? A question tag is just what? It's just a mini question we put at the end of a sentence to do what? To ask for a person's approval over something. For instance, you want someone to confirm or to approve what you said, you must use the question tag. Now, question tag is formed not as any sentence. There are some rules we must go through. It's only by respecting those rules that you are forming, or you can form what we call the question tag. So, what is the question tag? I have already answered that question, so allow me to quickly move on. Now, when we say, as we said, every grammatical structure is governed by a rule. What is the rule of question tag? How to form the question tag? The question tag is simply formed with auxiliary from your verb in the sentence plus subject. When we say subject, we are not going to use the subject if it is a noun. We have to use what? The personal pronoun, subject, the personal pronoun subject that correspond to the personal pronoun subject that correspond to the subject. So this is the general rule of forming the passive voice. I hope all of you are following me, and we can continue then. Okay, but apart from this, you must also know that when we are talking of question tag, when your sentence, for instance, there are some steps to go through. It's only by respecting those steps that you are doing what we call passive voice. Number one, what is the main thing to know is when the sentence is positive. When we say positive, it means it is in affirmative form. So when the sentence is positive, the question tag must be negative. The question tag must be negative, and vice versa. It means when your sentence is positive, the question tag must be negative. Now, when your sentence is negative, the question tag must be positive. That's why I say vice versa. Let me quickly take an example. For instance, if I say she is late, you can realize that this sentence is positive, is a positive sentence, that is affirmative sentence. So the question tag should be what? We said that we form the question tag of with the auxiliary plus subject. What is the auxiliary? First of all, what is the verb in this sentence? The verb is is. Is still what? It is an auxiliary verb. So if it is so, we must repeat our auxiliary here. Now we have to say is, but the sentence is positive, then the question tag should be negative. So isn't, and we have to add the subject, which is she. So this is what we call the question tag. But do not forget that anytime you are forming the question tag, it must be that many question must be followed by what? A question mark. It is very important. We must follow it by a question mark. Now let's take another sentence. For instance, if you say he has not seen me. The question tag of this is first of all, the sentence is the verb is has. It is what? An auxiliary verb. So it is in what tense? What form? Negative form. So your question tag should be positive. So we have to say has and add the subject, which is he. So by doing so, we are forming what we call passive voice. We are forming what we call question tag. So that is the first thing to know about the use of question tag. Now let's quickly move to another point which is very important. Now, how do we find this? We have to know that when there is what? There is an auxiliary verb. An auxiliary verb is also called what? Helping verb. There are verbs that are used to help other verb to express a feeling, an emotion, or to form a specific tense. That's why we call them helping verb or auxiliary verb. So when we have an auxiliary verb, when there is an auxiliary verb in the what? In the sentence, we do what? We repeat it in the tag. We repeat it in the tag. Is exactly what I have done here. This is an auxiliary verb, so we repeat it in the tag. And moreover, when we have let me give you an example for that. We aren't late, or we aren't happy. We aren't happy. We have our auxiliary verb are, so we must repeat it. So we have to say are. You look at the sentence. The verb is in negative form, so your question tag should be positive. So we have to say are we. When you are using the question tag, when speaking, you must raise your voice. The intonation should be rising intonation. So don't say we aren't happy. Are we? No. We have to say we aren't happy. Are we? You must raise your voice. Your intonation, you must use a raising intonation, not the falling one, the raising one. Good. Now let's continue with another point. Now when there is what? When we have a group of let me say, when we have a verb phrase, when we have a verb phrase, what do we mean by a verb phrase? That is a group of verb. When we have a verb phrase, that is a group of verb in the sentence. In the sentence, we just consider, we just take the first one as what? As the auxiliary, at the auxiliary that must be used, in the tag. That must be used in the tag. Let's take this example. I said, first of all, let me quickly read it. When we have a verb phrase is, we can have a group of verbs. It can be only one verb, or it can be two verbs or three verbs. For instance, let me give you an example. When I say, for instance, example, she didn't, or she did not come. She did not come home. She did not come home. This is a sentence. You are asked to use what? The correct what? The correct the suitable question tag. You have to know that how many verbs do we have? We have two verbs. We have did, which is the first verb, and come, which is the second one. So when you have two verbs in a sentence, with two verbs in a sentence, the first one must be what? Must be your auxiliary verb, and the second one must be the ordinary verb. So we must have two verbs. When we have two verbs, the first one is your auxiliary verb, the second one is the ordinary verb. You don't have anything to do with the ordinary verb. Just repeat the first auxiliary, the first verb, which is the auxiliary verb. So we have to say did, and the subject is she plus the question mark. That is the way we form the question tag when we have two verbs in the same sentence. I mean, two finite verbs. A finite verb is a verb that is conjugated in a tense. So we have two verbs here. The first one is the auxiliary verb, and the second one is the ordinary verb. But don't form your passive voice. What's wrong with me today? Don't form your question tag with the second one, but the first one. Another sentence. They will run away. They will run away. They will run away. How many verbs do we have in this sentence? We have two verbs. We have will and run. Will is the auxiliary verb, and run is the ordinary verb or main verb. We say ordinary verb or main verb. So when you want to form your question tag, you form it with what? The auxiliary verb. So you repeat the first verb. So when we say they will run away, will should be here. Will, this shows that the sentence is in positive. Your question tag should be negative. The negative form of will is will not. But unfortunately, we don't use the full form when forming the question tag. We must use the contracted form, which is won't. So will not, will not is equal to won't. Is equal to won't. So in question tag, never use this. Never use this in question tag. You must use this. That's why we have to say won't they. I hope you are following what we are doing. This is the way we form the question tag. So I would like the cameraman to enlarge it so that you can easily see it. That is the way. Anytime you have two verbs, you take the first one as the auxiliary and we use it. Now, that is what we need to know. Now, in case, let's go to the third one. Now, when the verb, when there is a single verb in the sentence. When we say single verb is only, it means only one verb. when we have only one verb in the sentence, what happens when we have a single verb in the sentence? We use the auxiliary do. We use the auxiliary do or does. We use the auxiliary do or does if the ordinary verb, if that single verb, if that verb is in present, simple present, of course, and we use did if it is in simple past. Except the verb, let me write it here, except the auxiliary be in all form and sometime have. I will explain all this. Good. When there is a single verb, that is only one verb, first of all you have to check if that verb is an ordinary verb. If that single verb is an ordinary verb, what happens? You do what? You must use the auxiliary do or does if that ordinary verb is in present, and or we use did if it is in past. Let me give you 3 examples. For instance, if you say she comes home late, or she comes late. Another one, they wrote a long letter. They wrote a long letter. And the last one, I was fat. Yes, I was fat. So you can see that we have 3 types of sentences, 3 sentences on the board. We are asked to find what? The question tag. We look at what? The number of verbs do we have? I said it earlier on. When you have 2 verbs, take the first one. When we have 2 verbs, you take the first one, you form the question tag with it. Unfortunately, here we don't have 2 verbs or 3. We only have 1 verb. When you have 1 verb, check if it is be. Is it be? No. So it is what? An ordinary verb. You must replace your ordinary verb by the auxiliary or helping verb do. Why do? Because the verb is in a simple present, because of S. Now, we must all know that the subject is she, but we cannot say she do. We say she does. That's why we must add es. The sentence is in positive form, so the question tag should be negative, doesn't. Okay, followed by the subject she. This is the way we can form the question tag, because we have only 1 verb, and that only 1 verb is an ordinary verb. We don't repeat the ordinary verb here. Don't say comes not. No. It doesn't exist. It's a great mistake or error. Don't use it like that. Ordinary verb always have the auxiliary do as the replacement in the question tag. So we must say doesn't she. Let's look at the second one. She wrote a long letter. We have only 1 verb, wrote. Now, is it in present or in simple past? There's a way to find it easily. What to do. Try to put that verb into infinitive form. Are we going to say to wrote or to write? If you say to write, it means that this verb is in simple present. If you think that to write is the correct one, it means your verb is in simple present. Unfortunately, we cannot say to write, to wrote. So wrote here is in a simple past. That is the way you can easily identify a verb in present or past. Try to put it into infinitive. If it is present, it must go with to. If it is in past, it can go with to. So you know that it is in past. Let me give you another verb. When I say, for instance, to go, okay, this is the verb given, went. Now I want to know if it is in present or past. I have to use to. Can I say to went or to go? We used to say to go. If it goes with go, then it is in simple present. If it cannot go with to, then it is in a simple past. So that is exactly what we are going to try to do here. Here we say they wrote a long letter. Are we going to say, can we say to wrote or we say to write? We cannot say to wrote. It means that this verb is in simple past. What type of verb is that? It is an ordinary verb or main verb. The main verb are replaced by the auxiliary do or does. But if the verb is in simple past, we use did. So here we are going to use did. Now the sentence is positive. Our question tag should be negative followed by the subject. So we have to say didn't they. That is the question tag. Now let's come to the last one. I was fast. I was fat. I was fat. What is the verb? The verb is was, which is a single verb, only one verb. Is it an ordinary verb or auxiliary verb? Here, was cannot be. Was is not an ordinary verb. It is how do you call it? An auxiliary verb. So we have to, when we have an auxiliary verb, we just need to repeat it here. So we have to say was. The sentence is positive. The question tag should be negative, and we add the subject. Wasn't I? So that is the way we form the question tag when your verb is a single verb. We have to call on what? The auxiliary do in present or did in past. But if it is your verb, it is an auxiliary verb. Don't worry at all. Just use repeat it in your question tag. Now let's move on to what? To another very important point, which is what? Here we have finished with as I said, we form question tag. When we say question tag, we form it with what? Let me write it in full words. Question tag. We form it with auxiliary plus subject. Good. We have said everything concerning the auxiliary. It will remain what? The subject. What should we know about the subject? When we have a noun, when we have a noun as or let's say when we have a noun or noun phrase is a group nominal. So when we have a noun or noun phrase when we have a noun or noun phrase as a subject, when we have it as a subject in the sentence, what do we do? It's very simple. We replace them. We replace it by what? We replace it by its appropriate what? Appropriate personal pronoun subject. We all know that we have two types of pronoun. We have two types of personal pronoun. We have personal pronoun subject and personal pronoun object. But here we don't have nothing to do with, or we don't have anything to do with the object. We are dealing with subjects. So, for instance, when we have Paul knows my name. Paul knows my name. And let me give you another one. We can say a girl name now. Sarah is not here. Another one. We can also say Togo is my country. Togo is my country. Let me add another one. The cat is or let's use back. The dog is barking. Is barking. So here are 4 sentences on the board. When we are asked to find the question tag, what do we do? Very simple. First of all, you identify the number of verbs we have. How many verbs do we have? A single verb. Is it auxiliary verb? No, I don't think so. It is what? An ordinary verb. We replace the ordinary verb in a sentence by what? The auxiliary do in the question tag. We must know the tense of the verb. This verb is in simple present, so we must use the auxiliary does. That's because we say Paul. We cannot say Paul do. We say Paul does. Paul must agree with your auxiliary verb. The subject must agree with your auxiliary verb. Alright. Now, we say does. Now we come to Paul. Paul is what? It is a noun. We cannot use a noun in the question tag. We don't say we form question tag with auxiliary verb plus a noun. No. We say plus subject. That subject should be a personal pronoun subject. I said it earlier on. So, here we have to use what? We must replace Paul by what? By the appropriate personal pronoun subject, which is Paul is a male person. So we must replace Paul by he. Now the sentence is what? Is in positive. The question tag should be negative. So you have to say, doesn't he? This is the question tag. We come to the second one. Sarah is not here. Sarah is not here. What is the verb? The verb is. How many verbs? Only one verb. It is an auxiliary verb. You repeat it here. The sentence is negative. The question tag should be positive. So we add it, we keep it like that. Now we say Sarah. Sarah is a female person. Is a female. So here we must replace Sarah by she. So this is our correct answer. I mean the question tag. Togo is my country. We all know that Togo is not a person name. Togo is what? A name of place. We are all living in Togo. Togo is our country. So, when you are asked to find the question tag of such a sentence, you identify your verb, which is also the auxiliary. So, we repeat it. Is. The sentence is positive. You write not. Isn't. Now, Togo is name of thing. It is a name of place. So, we cannot say she. No. Here, we cannot say she. We cannot say he. No. Because they are not animate things. They are inanimate things. So, we have to replace it by it. So, we use it for things and animals. The dog is barking. Is here. This the auxiliary verb must be is. Now the it is positive. We use the negative one. Isn't. Now we have the dog. Dog is an animal. We must replace that by it. That's why we must say isn't it. This is the question tag. So these are the main things we must know as far as question tag. If the question tag is concerned. That is the main thing we must know. Now that is what we must know. Let's quickly move to another point. This is also very important. Please and please do not use the full form of a verb in a question tag. We must always use what? The contracted form. We must always use this one in question tag. In question tag, don't use this. No, we must use this. But in the sentence, you can use the full form. But in the question tag, you must always use the contracted form. Let's take some verbs. When we say is not, has not, for instance, are not, had not. Now let's deal with simple auxiliary. It will remain what? Do not, does not, did not. Now let me finish with the simple auxiliary. Let's continue with the modal one. Modal auxiliaries. Modal verbs are will not, shall not, would not. We don't say would, we say would. Should, we don't say should. No, L is not pronounced. Don't pronounce L. Don't say should. No, we say should, would not, should not. What else? Cannot, and so on and so forth. Now, when you are asked to form the question tag while we have any of these verbs in your sentence, keep in mind that the question tag, the corresponding question tag of this, the contracted form is isn't. This one is hasn't. Sorry, hasn't, aren't, hadn't, don't. Now, doesn't, didn't, won't. Keep this one in mind. You may ask this one in exam. Won't. Don't say will not. 0. You must say won't. Shall not. Don't say shall not. Say shan't. I shan't go. Would not. Don't say would not. You say wouldn't not. Shouldn't. Cannot. Don't say cannot. No. Say can't. I can't. Yes, can't. When we this one, its pronunciation is can. By negative form, we say can't. I cannot follow you. I cannot follow you. I can't follow you. That is the correct pronunciation. So all these are wrong when you are using the question tag. You must use this. These are the correct ones. That should be bear in mind. Is that clear for everybody? Can we continue? Okay, let's continue now with another aspect of, the particular cases of question tag. The number one is, let me write, particular cases of question tag. All right. Number one is what? How do we form the question tag of there? When you have there as a subject. For instance, when I say there is a man in the room. In the room, there's no subject here. There is used as a subject. So you repeat it in the tag. So we must say is the verb in negative form. Isn't, and we add there. So we say isn't there. That is the way we form the question tag. We say isn't there. Now number two, when we have this or that in the sentence, we replace it by it in the tag. we replace it by it in the tag. Let me do it like this. Plus it in the tag. Example. Let me give you an example. This is my family. This is my family. Here the question tag should be, first of all, is the verb. We repeat it here because it is an auxiliary verb. Okay. Now, the sentence is positive, the question tag is negative. This one is correct. Now, the subject here must be it. Okay. We have to say, this is my family, isn't it? When we have another sentence, that was what I thought. That was what I thought about, or what I know. That's what I knew. For instance, when we are asked to find the question tag here, we have was. In positive, you put it into negative. You add what? Then you add that should be replaced by it. So we say, wasn't it? That's what that was what I said. That was what I knew, wasn't it? Now, number 3. How do we form question tag with when we have I am, I am? When we have I am, when we have I am in the sentence, the question tag is always aren't I. Please don't say aren't I is wrong. Example. I am an English teacher. I am an English teacher. Please, the question tag, as you have I am, the question tag should be aren't I. Don't say am I not, aren't I. No, this one doesn't exist. No, never say it. Okay, so we have to say aren't I. But when we have what? When we have am I am in I am not. When we have I am not, the question tag is am I. The question tag is am I. So quickly, let's take this example. I'm not late, or I am not late. The question tag should be am I. This one, there's no problem with it. It's only when you have I am in positive form that you must use aren't I. Good. Let's quickly move to number 4. How do we form question tag with commands? Commands or order. When you are giving command or order, for instance, when we say if the question tag is always will you. For instance, when we say sit down, I'm giving you an order. Sit down. Watch TV. Listen to me. Don't go away. Don't sit down. These are what? Orders. I'm giving you order. So when you have an order, such a sentence is called imperative sentence. When you have an imperative sentence, please, an imperative sentence is formed with only the verb. We don't use the subject. In negative form, we precede the verb with don't. We say don't plus verb. But in positive form, we only use the verb. There's no subject. If you have such sentences, what do we do? For instance, when I say go home now. Go home now. Is there any verb? No. To form the question tag, we have to say will you. Another sentence. Wear your nose mask. Wear your nose mask. The question tag is always will you. Okay, will you? But another one. Now let's form the an imperative sentence with the person who is talking will be part of the action. So for instance, when I say let us sit down, the question tag is will you. But exception, we have an exception when we say let's, when we use the contracted form. Please look at it very well. When we use the contracted form, it's quest plus verb. Its question tag is shall we. Shall we. So example, don't come here. Don't come here. Let us pray. Let us pray. Let's sit down, or let's do our assignment. So here, see, don't come here. It is an order. No, and you are how do you call it? Forbidding someone to do something. So it is a prohibition. Yeah, prohibition. So you have to say, will you? No matter how the sentence is, negative or positive, it is will you. Let us pray. Will you? But when we use the contracted form of let us, it should be shall we. It should be shall we. Shall is not linked to or stuck to we. So shall we. That is very important. So let's continue with point number 5. What can we know about this? We have to know that we can form question tag when we have this word no and its compounds. No and its compounds. Compound. For instance, nowhere, nobody, nothing, never, etc., and so on and so forth. When we have all this in a sentence, be sure that the sentence becomes what? Negative. I have never met. I have never met our president. When you are asked to find this question tag, very simple. First of all, you have to identify. We have never. When we have never in the sentence, your sentence is negative. So our question tag should be positive. What is the verb? The verb is are. We have two verbs. We have and met. We have two verbs. We said earlier on that when we have two verbs, we use the first one to form our question tag. So this one must have. Don't say haven't, because never is already in a negative, makes the sentence become negative. So we have to say have I. That is the question tag. Let me say, use another one. Nobody came. Nobody came here. The verb is in past. It is an ordinary verb, so we must use the auxiliary did. Now the verb is, the sentence is negative because there is nobody. So the question tag should be didn't they. Let me quickly go to switch to that one. When you have nobody, what else? Someone, somebody, anybody, people, and so on and so forth. When we have it in the sentence, we replace it by they in the question tag. Example, when for instance we say, this is an example, nobody, we didn't say did nobody know, we say did they. Let me give you another one. Someone has come. Here, someone has come. We have the verb has. We have two verbs. The first one is the auxiliary. We have to say has because we have has. Now we add they. But there's a mistake we have to correct. They, the subject they, we use they to replace someone. Now we cannot say they has. So your verb must agree with the subject. That's why we have to say have. The sentence is negative. Is in negative, you have to say haven't and they. So the question tag should be haven't they. Now it is almost time, but quickly allow me to finish it in some few minutes. Now that is number 6. Number 7 now. Okay, in case you want to join me for any question, any suggestion, you can call mine. First of all, my name is Mr. ALLABOE, and I am an English teacher, and my phone number is 92502350. That's it. That is my phone number. 92. Okay, that's it. Now let's quickly continue with the 7th. How do we form the question tag with had better and would rather? When we say, for instance, let me just give you an example. I'd rather go home. And we say she'd better learn. Please don't be confused. Keep in mind that we cannot say had. This one can be either, can be would or had. Okay, but here we cannot say I had rather. No, we say I would. So the question tag should be wouldn't I. Now here also we cannot say she would better. We say she had better. So the question tag should be hadn't she. That is what we can keep in mind. Quickly with number 8. Question tag with have. When have is used as what? As an auxiliary verb, or as what? Verb expressing possession. Expressing possession. In that case, we use have in the question tag. Example: she has a book. She has a book. She has a book. And we also say John has left. The question tag here should be what? Because of has used to express what? Possession, we have to say hasn't she. But here we have to say hasn't he, because we have to replace John by he. So the last but not the least, now before that, but when we use have in idiomatic expressions or in some phrases, for instance, she had a nice weekend. Here, had, it is not used to express a possession. No, it is used in an idiomatic way or in a phrase. So the question tag had here should have auxiliary do as a question tag. It is in past, so you have to say did. Positive sentence, didn't, and you add she. So you must pay attention. If the time is against us, if you have any question about this, please, this is my phone number. Just call my number. This is the number I'm using to do WhatsApp, so you can WhatsApp me or call me straightforward. So that is the way. If you have any question, I will explain it to you. Now the last one. This one concerns everybody. Unfortunately, I cannot give you assignment on it. But anyway, please do not forget, my number is there, you can call me. The last one is for instance, if you say if she learns hard, she will pass. When you are asked to form the question tag here, this is what we call subordinate clause, and this is what we call main clause. We use the verb of the main clause to form question tag. So when you are asked to form question tag of this sentence, you must use the verb which is in what? In the main clause. So you have to say will. The sentence is positive. You have to say wants, and the subject is a she. Wants she? Please don't use this one. No, don't use the verb in the subordinate clause. No. So if she learns hard, she will pass. Wants she? And the last one is she used to play. The question tag, this verb is in past. We have to say didn't she? But when we say I am used to playing, we have how many verbs? We have two verbs. The first one is the auxiliary, so we have to say aren't I, as I taught you before. So ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this lesson. If this program, if you have any question, any misunderstanding, any suggestion to place, please don't hesitate. Just dial my number, then you can easily join me and ask your question. So thank you for watching us. Before we leave, do not forget that we are still living with the coronavirus. So please respect the social distancing. Do not forget to be washing hands with a soap or use a sanitizer. Stay at home if you don't have anywhere, any important, an emergency to do. Don't touch your nose, eyes, and go with what? With unwashed hand. Please and please, our lives are very important for us. And also, do not forget, we need sponsors. If you want to help this program, if you want to bring anything you have, or you want to advertise your product, your firm, your enterprise, your office, your society, please do not hesitate to call any number you have here. You are all welcome. So thank you for watching us, and let's say see you on next Tuesday. We are going now to continue with the how to write composition. Composition has nothing to do with composition in French. It means how to write a letter or an essay writing. Thank you for watching us, and see you next time. Bye.